Hey guys, welcome to a review of Thor Ragnarok, the latest Marvel movie. I've been reviewing Marvel movies for a while now. I actually haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming, that's why there's no review of that one. I need to see that at some point, I don't know, I'll probably watch it when it comes out on DVD. But that's not what this is a review. Right now we're reviewing Thor Ragnarok, the latest Thor movie, and easily the best Thor movie. If you saw the trailers and you were impressed, that's pretty much what you're gonna get. The trailers do a good job. Unlike my most recent review, Blade Runner 2049, before this, I felt like the trailers didn't really accurately portray that movie. Thor Ragnarok definitely, without a doubt, portrays the movie in a very, what am I saying? The trailers for Thor Ragnarok accurately portray what you're going to get. If you looked at it and thought, oh, this is just another Marvel brand humor, blah blah blah, that's what you're gonna get, and that's what it is mostly. There's a bit of, but that's not to discount it at all. It was really, really good. I liked it. I mean, if you're tired of Marvel movies and the Marvel style of storytelling and humor, which I'll admit I'm getting a little stale on. Like, a lot of my friends, I went with a large group of friends, and some of them were like, this is the best Marvel movie yet. I don't think it's the best Marvel movie yet. It didn't really bring anything all that new to the table, but it brought solid stuff. There was nothing that stood out to me about it as bad. Everything was good. It just didn't wow me with any particular new thing. It was a fun time at the movies watching a Marvel movie. It's basically Thor. It's basically a Thor movie. The plot works largely similar to the previous Thor movies. Thor fights some big baddie. The difference is they don't spend half of the movie on Earth goofing around with Natalie Portman and Kat Dennings and those characters. In fact, those characters aren't even in this movie. And the other major difference is the addition of more humor. Before, Loki was really the only pseudo-humorous element of the first two movies, give or take some awkward, Kat Dennings side character comedy. But this movie kind of This movie goes for the Guardians of the Galaxy style humor with Thor. I mean, it's not like a carbon copy. It goes for character humor. I mean, it goes for character humor, and it writes in some joke bits, but it's also got at this point it's using established characters, and it makes it. There's jokey joke bits, but honestly, I feel like the flat out jokes, hey, stop the movie, here's a joke, weren't as entertaining as just the humorous moments that came from the character and the humor of the characters. Thor is great in this movie. Chris Hemsworth has never been more interesting as Thor, probably because they made him more human, I guess. Made him a little more fun and easygoing and humorous. Whereas in the first two movies, he kind of comes across as this stone-faced, I don't know what I'm doing. And Thor, the first Thor especially, because I mean, that's kind of the gimmick of the first Thor, is he lands on Earth and he's this weird, over-the-top god. But Thor 2, it is kind of why are you still like this? Thor Ragnarok makes it clear right away that this is a much funnier Thor than we've seen before. We've seen Thor. Stupid, I'm gonna shut it down. The Hulk is great in the movie, too. That's where they do actually try some different stuff, because they have, the Hulk is kind of trapped in his body for a while, and so they actually have the Hulk talk as the Hulk, rather than just Bruce Banner. And then Bruce Banner does show up at a certain point, and he's out of it and crazy. And I'm not gonna spoil it, but the things they do with the Hulk in this movie are very interesting, and they treat it in a different way than we've really seen it before, which is good, because I feel like the Hulk in the past has been kind of generic. They tried to spice it up with the Bruce Banner Black Widow romance, but I feel like that was also the weakest part of Age of Ultron. So, and they do reference that a few times in Thor Ragnarok. There's one particular joke they keep using where Thor is trying to calm Bruce down, and he says some phrase about the sun setting or something. I don't remember, but like my friends were laughing and I didn't get it, and they were one of them, and they were explaining to me it's like a reference to like the Age of Ultron thing, but I haven't seen Age of Ultron since it came out, so it's like I don't really remember. I don't think that was as interesting as a part of that movie as Marvel seems to think it is, and like they did kind of harken back to it a little too much in this movie, but that's fine. At this point, you're expected to just kind of have seen all of these movies, and that's fine. Like, this movie would not be very enjoyable if you've never seen a Thor movie before, if you've never seen a Marvel movie before. It's out there. Marvel at this point has free range to like use whatever properties they want and just go completely out there, and that's what they kind of do here. It's like they go to different planets and stuff. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy-esque in that way. Another funny element is Jeff Goldblum is the leader of this like garbage planet, basically, where he's the guy who runs the fight. And if you've seen where Thor and Hulk fight in the trailers, he's Jeff Goldblum. I mean, if you hate Jeff Goldblum, then he's not going to entertain. He's playing Jeff Goldblum, but like he's also like an evil dictator, sort of, but like his character is so apathetic, and what is his name? Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum. I just completely forgot his first name. And so apathetic and like Jeff Goldblum-esque that you don't really ever see him as that much of a threat. Even like when Thor and Hulk are like escaping, he like pops up and he's like on a speaker announcing to the people, and his voice is just like so monotone, but not in a like monotone like I'm not acting way, monotone in a like casual Jeff Goldblum speak way. He's just very they do use his special skill set very well. The Hela, the villain, is very interesting. It seems like the new Marvel movie strategy is to just like cast really good like celebrated actors as the villains, so that even if they underwrite the villain, it's not a poor villain. Like, they did it with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Kurt Russell as Ego, and then Spider-Man Homecoming, Michael Keaton is the Vulture, who I heard was a very good villain in that movie. One of my friends was saying that was his favorite Marvel movie villain. And then Thor Ragnarok, Hela, who, like, if she were being played by like a lesser actress, probably wouldn't be an interesting or entertaining villain, but Cate Blanchett does make Hela a pretty entertaining villain with a pretty convincing backstory. I mean, it's kind of like standard Marvel thing, but what's interesting is she kind of like even though she's obviously evil, she makes some good points with her backstory. Like she does kind of like, there are scenes where she argues with Thor about like Odin, because Odin, she used to hang out with Odin, and then Odin kicked her out, and that's why she's mad. She wants to come back and take over. And she actually does raise some good points that do make Odin kind of look like an asshole, which, I mean, it's consistent with the other movies. Odin is definitely a bit of a jerk, even if he is, like, Thor's trusted dad. But, so that's an interesting... The Doctor Strange cameo... Don't expect much. He's barely in the movie, and even his little segment doesn't quite match up with what we saw in the end credits scene of Doctor Strange. Like, he's not as important as they built him up to be. He's honestly, like, his entire scene could have been cut. His entire scene could have been cut from the movie. The plot would not be any different. You just lose a comedic... It's basically a comedic bit with Doctor Strange teleporting Thor around a bunch and disorienting him. It's funny, but it's like not necessary, and I was disappointed in that. But everything else was like, I mean, it was solid Marvel movie action. I liked seeing more of Asgard. We see more of Asgard. We see some of the Asgard citizens, which I was only like vaguely aware that citizens of Asgard even existed. It actually felt like an established place by the end of the movie. We get more of, God, what's his name? The black guy. I feel mildly racist. What is his name? Heimdall, the dude who guards the Thor place. Thor place. The dude who guards Asgard. God, God, what is that actor's name? Hold on. Oof. I'm gonna talk about another topic. Heimdall actor, yes. Okay. Idris Elba, thank you. Okay, I'm back. Idris Elba, you get to see more of his character, and he's pretty cool. Like, he's cool as always. You get to see more of his character, you get to see more of Loki. Loki is pretty much there with Thor throughout the movie, and they really kind of explore their brotherly bond in a way they haven't done before. Like, now that we've kind of moved past, Loki has become less of a villain and more of like a rogue, like a loose cannon rogue anti-hero type figure to Thor. And they sort of like get along as brothers now, even if they don't always see eye to eye on ideas. Loki's very much been established as the god of mischief. Like, he's not so much villainous anymore as he is just like mischievous. Like, he's just like sabotaging it. And he's funny as always. I mean, I don't know. I'm not as huge a fan of Loki as some people who watch the Marvel movies are, but he's definitely very entertaining in this movie. And there's another character that, like, as far as I know, wasn't really in any of the trailers. This rock guy named, what was it, Craig? I don't know. Something like that. I just call him Rock Guy. He's, like, made of rocks. He was so funny. Literally every line he says is just, like, a joke. But, like, even the lines that aren't written as jokes are funny because of the way they're delivered. The actor has a very, like, light, airy, floaty voice with like a slight accent, almost like Canadian or like Irish or something. I don't know. He was voiced by the director of the movie, which is interesting. And he was just very, very funny. Every line he said, he just had such a casual, like, friendly way of speaking that didn't match with the rough look of the character that added so much comedy to it, to where even when it wasn't a funny line, he made it funny. And he was honestly like the standout character for me, just because I wasn't expecting this character. I didn't even know this character existed in the movie, and he ended up being one of the funniest characters in the movie. Out. Ugh. Cheers. Thor Ragnarok, good movie. Okay, whatever. Thor Ragnarok, but sorry. So. The stories, I mean, it's kind of your standard Marvel fare. Basically, Hela goes to Asgard, she wants to take it over. Thor and Loki try to fight her and get blasted off to Jeff Goldblum's garbage planet. They get captured by this girl, I don't remember what her name was, but she was like a Valkyrie, one of the original warriors that fought Hela like way back in the past. And I don't know how she's like still young. I think like time flows slower on the garbage planet or something like that. It's not made very clear, but like I think that's the kind. And she's the one who brings Thor into Jeff Goldblum. She's like doesn't want anything to do with Odin and Asgard, and then even though she's Asgardian, and like she slowly gets won over. She's like not really funny. She's probably the least funny major character, but she has a nice, interesting character arc. She's pretty badass, cool female character. That's a lot of fun. I mean, I don't really have that much to say about it other than that it was just very, very funny. I mean, it didn't bring anything new to the table that really, like, super impressed me. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 had an awesome villain, and they did a sort of, like, villain that you don't necessarily know is a villain, and it's like, that movie had some genuine surprises. Like, the moment where, spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the moment where Ego is like, I put that tumor in your mother, was like, whoa, like I think I actually gasped in the movie theater at that line. It's like Thor Ragnarok didn't have anything like that. And then Spider-Man Homecoming I haven't seen, but like Civil War had something new, brought something new to the table. Doctor Strange brought this sort of new magic thing to the table. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 brought the... Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is still my favorite Marvel movie. It just brings this awesome sort of sci-fi. I think that's going to go down, like, I think that movie will go down separated from the MCU. Like, even after people stop following the MCU and it stops being a thing, people will go back to Guardians of the Galaxy 1 as like a fun sci-fi classic, sort of Star Wars-esque. I mean, I don't think it's going to be nearly that level of reverberation, but I think people will go back to that one. But this movie, I mean, it's better than the other Thor movies, definitely. Adding comedy to Thor was a smart choice, because that's the main problem with the first Thor movies, that they were just like dull and boring, and Thor was not an interesting character. So making him funny was a nice, easy way for Marvel to make him interesting and sort of capitalize on the style brought around by Guardians of the Galaxy. But I to anyone who's saying it's the best Marvel movie, I do not see that at all. Like, I honestly could not. I very much disagree. Like, it didn't bring anything new to the table for me. It was very entertaining, and it was a fun time at the movies with my friends watching this very funny and entertaining Thor movie, but it wasn't anything more than that to me, which is fine. I mean, I think I might be getting a little tired of the Marvel brand of humor. Like, at some point I'm probably just going to stop watching these Marvel movies unless they look particularly interesting to me. But it's like, if you're already past that point where you're tired of Marvel movies, this isn't going to offer anything new or interesting to you. But if you still like that Marvel brand of humor, and like the characters in the MCU and how they bounce off of each other, because that's one of the best parts about this movie, is that Thor and Hulk and Loki and even the new characters like the Volkrai girl and then Hela, like how all these characters bounce off of each other, then you will definitely like this movie. Otherwise, I mean, I don't know. If you're not into Marvel movies, there's not anything here for you. I'm not going to say go see it. It's a good time, but it's not particularly artful or anything. Arrivederci! I'm definitely not giving mixed signals. It's not a bad movie, and I would go see it if you like Marvel movies. I wasn't amazed by it. It's good, not great, is how I'd say it. Arrivederci!